I wasn't supposed to be home that weekend. Emma had encouraged me to take a quick solo trip to the lake cabin. Just 2 days to clear my head, she said. She even helped me pack, told me I needed a break from work and that she had plans of her own, catching up on a new book, deep cleaning the closet, a relaxing weekend with no distractions. But on Saturday afternoon, something just didn't sit right. My name is Nolan. I'm 38 years old and live in Athens, Georgia. I've been married to Emma for 8 years. And until that weekend, I thought we were solid. Traffic was light. I didn't tell Emma I was coming home early. I figured I'd surprise her, maybe bring dinner. But the moment I turned onto our street, I felt it. There was a silver sedan in our driveway. Not Emma's car. Not any car I recognized from the neighborhood. No bumper sticker. Out-of-state plates. I parked behind it, engine still running, my gut twisted. I sat there for a second, convincing myself it had to be innocent. A friend visiting, a repair guy, something. But inside the house, everything looked normal, too normal. The kitchen lights were on, a candle burned on the counter. The place even smelled like citrus, Emma's go-to when she wanted things to feel fresh. "Emma?" I called out. No response. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and walked slowly into the living room. Nothing out of place. Her phone was charging on the side table, a blanket folded neatly on the couch. I tried to ignore how carefully staged it all looked. Then I heard it. Voices, muffled, upstairs. I froze at the bottom of the staircase. I couldn't make out the words, just the rhythm. 2 people, one definitely Emma, the other male. "Emma," I called again, louder this time. She appeared at the top of the stairs a moment later, wearing a soft smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, you're back early," she said, her voice overly cheerful. "Everything okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, just decided to come back. Whose car is that out front?" "Oh," she said, glancing over her shoulder. "That's just Kara's. She stopped by for a bit. She's gone now." I stared at her. Gone, but her car's here? Her smile stiffened. She left with someone else. It didn't add up. I climbed the stairs. Emma kept talking, about lunch, about the closet she had just cleaned, but none of it mattered anymore. In our bedroom, everything looked untouched, except the boots near the closet. Heron. And just behind them, barely visible, a pair of large black men's dress shoes. Not mine. I didn't say anything, just stared at them, letting the silence stretch. Something was wrong, and no matter how much Emma tried to smooth it over, I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't nothing. It was the beginning. That night, I barely slept. Emma curled up beside me like nothing had happened. No mention of the shoes, no apology, just quiet humming while brushing her teeth, and a kiss on the cheek like everything was perfectly fine. I couldn't bring myself to ask again. I already knew she'd have another excuse ready. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things I hadn't paid much attention to before. Or maybe I had. And I just didn't let myself connect the dots. Emma suddenly got very into yoga. She'd never once mentioned yoga in the 8 years we'd been together. If anything, she used to make fun of those Instagram yogis with their detox smoothies and sun salutations. Now, out of nowhere, she was going to late-night yoga classes 3 times a week. "Heat vinyasa," she said, tossing her gym bag over her shoulder. "Helps with tension." I wanted to believe her. I really did. I nodded and said something about dinner being in the fridge. She smiled, kissed me quickly, and left without looking back. But that night, as I took out the trash, I noticed something. Her yoga mat, the new one she bought specifically for these classes, was leaning against the front door, still wrapped in its plastic, untouched. I stood there staring at it, letting the cool night air settle around me. Then I went inside, sat on the couch, and waited. She came home an hour later, flushed, hair tied up, breath slightly hurried. "How was it?" I asked. She dropped her keys in the bowl and stretched. "Amazing. I'm sore already." I looked at the untouched mat, then at her. "Do they have mats at the studio?" I asked casually. She blinked. "Yeah, tons." The next day I checked online. The studio she claimed to go to required bringing your own mat. No rentals, no exceptions. I didn't say anything, not yet. A couple of days later, I saw a message pop up on her phone while we were watching TV. Just a quick buzz. A name, K, no last name, just the letter. "You free tonight?" it said. Emma picked up the phone fast, read it, and tucked it into her lap without replying. "Who's Kay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She barely glanced at me. "Kara," she said. "You know, from work." "Right. The same Kara who left her car in our driveway and vanished with someone else." Still, I nodded. "Cool." Emma never noticed I stopped watching the movie. She was too busy texting Kay under the blanket. After she went to bed, I scrolled back through my memory, trying to figure out when the shift had really started. The small lies, the late nights, the excuses about traffic, errands, juice runs with friends. She used to hate errands. Now she came home at 9:30 with a lukewarm bottle of celery juice and a story I couldn't verify. And yet, she still smiled like nothing was wrong, still kissed me on the forehead, still left me notes in the kitchen about picking up coffee filters or almond milk. It was like living with someone who had memorized their lines. I wanted to be wrong. God, I needed to be wrong, but the pile of inconsistencies was growing fast, and I was running out of excuses to protect her with. So that night, while she slept, I opened my laptop and started digging. Just a little, just enough to see if the cracks I felt in our marriage were real, or just in my head. The deeper I looked, the more the pieces stopped fitting. Emma's routines had always been predictable. Grocery runs on Sunday, Pilates on Wednesday, movie night on Fridays. But now, everything was off. She was constantly running behind, missing dinners, forgetting what she told me the day before, and her phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter or charging in the bedroom, now never left her side. Even when she showered, it came with her. I didn't want to turn into that guy, the kind who snooped, who second-guessed everything. But when your wife starts lying about yoga mats and getting text from someone named Kay at night, you start paying closer attention. One Saturday morning, while she was in the shower, I opened her dresser drawer to grab some laundry. That's when I noticed the new lingerie, tag still on, tucked underneath her old pajamas. 2 sets, lace. Not my taste. Not anything she'd ever worn for me. And there was perfume too. Expensive, something floral and bold. Not the soft, citrusy kind she usually wore. The bottle looked barely used, like it had just been bought, like it was meant for someone who hadn't smelled it yet. I stood there holding the bottle, heart hammering in my chest. Who was she trying to impress? Later that day, while we were out running errands, I tried to bring it up, casually, testing the waters. "You've been dressing up more lately," I said as we walked through Target. "Trying out a new look?" She smiled. "What, this?" She gestured to her jeans and sweatshirt. "Please. No, I mean, like the perfume and stuff." She raised an eyebrow. "I've had that for ages." "You don't usually wear it." "Yeah, well," she said with a shrug. "I guess I'm just trying something different." "Is that a crime?" I let it go. For now. That night, while she folded laundry in the bedroom, I brought up something else that had been gnawing at me. "Have I done something wrong?" I asked. Emma looked up from the bed. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You just feel kind of far away lately." She laughed lightly. "God, you're so dramatic." "I'm serious, Em." Her face changed, sharpened. "Okay, well, maybe you've been a little paranoid lately," she said, folding one of my shirts a little too fast. "Maybe if you didn't sneak around watching me like I'm some kind of criminal, things would feel normal." "I'm not sneaking. You're asking weird questions. You're staring at my phone. Do you even trust me anymore?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She shook her head and kept folding. "Maybe you need to look in the mirror, Nolan," she muttered, "because I'm not the one acting crazy." That night, when I got into bed, Emma was already asleep, or pretending to be. Her phone was tucked under her pillow, like it needed protection from me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, heart racing. I wasn't crazy. I was just finally seeing things for what they were. Emma wasn't just distant. She was hiding. I didn't plan on following her. I didn't even mean to do it. But that Thursday, she left work an hour early, said she was going to her yoga class, and something in me just clicked. I grabbed my keys, told my manager I had a headache, and got in my car. I kept a safe distance, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. She didn't go to the yoga studio. She drove past it, never even slowed down. Instead, she headed across town, toward a quiet neighborhood near Piedmont Heights. She pulled into a lot next to a small apartment complex I didn't recognize. The place looked modest, clean, somewhere a single guy might live. Emma didn't get out of the car at first. She stayed inside, checking her makeup in the mirror, fixing her hair. Then she climbed out, locked the door, and walked around the side of the building like she'd done it 100 times before. I parked down the street and waited. 5 minutes, 10. Then I saw him. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Tall, clean cut. Button-up shirt rolled at the sleeves. He met her halfway down the sidewalk, like they had a system. Like this was routine. They didn't kiss, but the hug lasted too long, too familiar. He touched her waist like he belonged there. She laughed, tilted her head in that way she used to when we were dating. That was it. I didn't need a camera. I didn't need screenshots or a PI or some smoking gun. That look between them, casual and intimate and practiced, told me everything I'd been trying not to believe. I drove home in silence. Emma walked in 2 hours later, humming. She tossed her keys into the bowl like nothing had changed. "How was yoga?" I asked, keeping my voice even. She blinked. "Sweaty. Brutal." She pulled a water bottle out of her purse and took a sip. "Studio still hot as hell?" "The worst," she said, not meeting my eyes. Later that night, while she showered, I took out the bathroom trash. A receipt fluttered out as I lifted the bag. Hotel Indigo, downtown Savannah, king room, 2 nights, paid in full. The date? Last weekend. The same weekend she told me she was with her friend Caroline. "Girls' trip," she'd said, kissing my cheek. "Just us. No boys, no drama." Except she'd never been to Savannah. Not then, not with Caroline. I called Caroline the next morning under the guise of asking about a restaurant recommendation. She hesitated. "Oh, I thought Emma stayed home last weekend. She said she had work." My stomach sank. So, it was all lies. The yoga, the girls' weekend, the carefully timed phone calls, the perfume and lingerie, the late nights, all of it. Emma came downstairs that morning in her robe, sipping coffee, and smiled at me like we were still okay. But I had seen it now. All of it, and I was done pretending. I kept the hotel receipt in my drawer for 2 days before I brought it up. It sat there under a stack of old mail, folded so tightly the edges curled. I wasn't ready, not yet. I wanted to know exactly what I was walking into before I lit the fuse. I started checking our joint bank account. I'd never paid much attention before. Emma handled most of the online payments, and I was never one to micromanage. But now, I looked, and I saw it. Withdrawals labeled home repairs that didn't match anything we'd done to the house. Weird purchases in other cities. Cash ATM pulls in places Emma supposedly never went. $400 here, $650 there. A $1,200 charge at a boutique hotel 3 towns over. Weeks before the Savannah receipt. And none of them were mine. That night, after dinner, I sat across from her at the table. She was scrolling through her phone, legs curled up underneath her, completely at ease. I reached into the drawer and slid the hotel receipt across the table. Emma stared at it. Didn't touch it. "What's this?" she asked after a beat. "You tell me." She picked it up slowly, like it might explode. Her eyes flicked across the paper, then back to me. "That's not mine." "Really?" I said. "Because it was in our bathroom trash, and you were supposed to be with Caroline that weekend." Her mouth tightened. "Maybe it got mixed up with something else." I leaned forward. "Caroline said she hadn't seen you in a month." Emma looked down. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice stayed even. "Are you seriously doing this? Digging through the trash? Snooping through our accounts?" "Do I need to?" I asked. "Or are you going to explain the $1,200 hotel stay? Or the money missing from our savings?" Her eyes flared for half a second. Then she crossed her arms. "You're overreacting. I'm asking for the truth. And I'm telling you, you're paranoid. This is exactly what I mean. You're constantly assuming the worst." I stared at her. Calm, cold. I went through the bank records. I found withdrawals labeled as home repairs. But we haven't fixed a damn thing this year. Emma looked away. "You've been using our money to play house with someone else," I said. "No," she snapped. "That's not—" "Don't," I said, my voice sharper now. "Just don't." She went quiet. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, needing space, needing to breathe. I pulled open the cabinet where we kept the important documents, passports, car titles, insurance info, and I started collecting what was mine. Emma hovered in the hallway. "What are you doing?" "Calling Claire." "Your lawyer?" I nodded. She's going to help me separate everything, accounts, titles, whatever else needs to happen. Emma's voice rose. You're not even going to talk to me? You're just walking away? I talked, I said. You lied, over and over. Now I'm done. I spent the next few days securing everything. I changed passwords, pulled my name off accounts, closed the credit card she'd used the most. By Friday, I had a meeting with Claire and started drafting the paperwork. It was no longer about catching Emma in the lie. It was about escaping the life she'd been building behind my back. And this time, I wasn't waiting around to be part of it. When I got home that night, it smelled like rosemary chicken. Emma stood at the stove in a soft sweater, her hair pulled back, humming to herself like we were still us. There were candles lit on the table, a bottle of wine breathing on the counter, plates already set, like we were about to sit down to a date night instead of whatever this really was. I walked in without saying a word, hung up my keys, and watched her carefully arrange the food on the plates. Hey, she said, turning toward me with a hopeful smile. I made your favorite. I didn't answer. She paused, setting down the spatula. Nolan, she said, soft now. Can we just talk? Please? I pulled out a chair but didn't sit. Talk about what? I asked, my voice flat. She stepped around the island slowly. I know things have been tense. I know I've made mistakes, but I want to fix this. I let out a short breath, almost a laugh. You want to fix this? After everything? Emma's eyes darted to the table, then back to me. I was scared. I thought if I just acted normal, we could go back to how we were. There is no how we were anymore, I said. That version of us? It doesn't exist. She came closer, stopping a foot away. I miss you. I shook my head. No, Emma. You miss the version of me that didn't ask questions, the one who paid the bills and trusted every excuse. I made a mistake, she whispered. You made several, I snapped, before catching myself. And now you're cooking dinner like that'll make me forget it all. I didn't know what else to do, she said, blinking hard. You won't talk to me. You're shutting me out. Because there's nothing left to say. We stood there in silence. The food on the table was already starting to cool, the wine untouched, the candles flickering for no one. She reached out like she might touch my arm, but I stepped back. Don't, I said. Emma's hand dropped. I won't fight, I continued. I won't scream or drag this out, but I'm done. I'm not sitting through dinner like this is just another rough patch. This isn't salvageable. Her mouth opened, but she said nothing. I turned toward the door, grabbed my jacket, and left. She didn't follow. No more fake smiles. No more dinners pretending nothing had happened. No more talking in circles. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. Because I knew I was finally walking away from the wreck, not trying to rebuild it. It was the following Tuesday when Claire called. I was in the middle of sorting old files from our shared storage unit, splitting bills, listing what would be mine and what would be hers, when the phone rang. Nolan, Claire said, her voice serious but calm. I got a call from someone you'll want to hear about. I stood up straighter. Okay. She said her name is Alyssa Mason, ex-wife of a man named Trevor Mason. I froze. The name clicked instantly. Trevor? Mason? I said slowly. Yeah, Claire confirmed. Does that sound familiar? I closed my eyes. The guy from the apartment building. The one Emma met on the sidewalk with a hug that lingered just a little too long. So, that was his name. Claire continued. Alyssa says Trevor has a pattern. He gets involved with women who are married or financially stable, charms them, coaxes them into spending on him, using their credit, sometimes even forging documents. Then he vanishes. I sat down hard on a plastic storage bin. Jesus. She reached out after noticing a transaction connected to your name. I guess Emma used a joint card that Trevor also used to cover a hotel stay. Alyssa saw it flagged when she was trying to clean up some of his financial messes. I shook my head, still processing. You're telling me this guy is a con artist? A textbook one, Claire said. She has documentation, emails, texts, financial records. Says she's been waiting for him to slip up again. My mouth was dry. So, Emma, she knew? That part's unclear. She might have believed he was legit. He's good at what he does, apparently. Says all the right things. But that doesn't change what happened. She's complicit now. I swallowed hard. Is this something we can use in the separation? Claire didn't hesitate. Absolutely. The financial fraud alone strengthens your case. If we can prove she knowingly spent shared funds on this man, especially during an affair, we're looking at a strong argument for asset protection and spousal misconduct. I nodded slowly, the pieces clicking into place. The boutique hotel stays, the fake yoga classes, the sudden cash withdrawals, the look on her face when I brought up the receipt. She'd been taken, but so had I. I need to move fast, don't I said. Already on it, Claire replied. Send me any documents you find. We're preparing a full financial audit. After I hung up, I sat there for a long time. Trevor Mason. She gave our money, our time, our life to a man who was never going to stick around. A man who left other women in ruins. And still, she smiled at me over breakfast like she could fix this with scrambled eggs and apologies. Not anymore. That night, I started gathering everything. Receipts, screenshots, bank statements. I built a folder, labeled it Mason. Then I opened a fresh email to Claire and typed 2 words in the subject line. Let's begin. Emma showed up unannounced the next night. I'd been staying at a friend's condo across town, using the time and space to prepare for what came next. I wasn't sleeping much, but I was clear-headed, focused. My days were spreadsheets and lawyer calls. My nights were spent sifting through pieces of a marriage I no longer recognized. I heard the knock just past 9 p.m. I opened the door, and there she was. No makeup, hair pulled back in a messy bun, hoodie sleeves pulled down past her wrists like she was trying to shrink. She didn't say anything right away. I just need 5 minutes, she said softly. I stepped aside without a word. She walked past me and stood awkwardly in the middle of the small living room, like she didn't know what to do with her hands. I know you're done, she began, her voice thin, and I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I owe you the truth. I stayed standing. She exhaled slowly, eyes glassy but not crying. His name is Trevor Mason. I said nothing. I didn't mean for it to go as far as it did, she said. At first it was just talking, online, then coffee, then more. You mean hotel rooms, trips, I said. She looked down. Yeah. You lied, for months. I know, she whispered. I crossed my arms. You stole from me, from us. I didn't think of it like that. I told myself I was just borrowing from our future, that I'd fix it before you noticed. That's not how marriage works, Emma. Her chin trembled. He told me he loved me, that I deserve more, that you didn't see me anymore. I blinked slowly. And you believed him? I did, she said, until he stopped answering my messages, until I found out he's done this before, to other women, that he used me. No, I said. You used me. Emma's eyes snapped up. I was there, I said, voice shaking with anger. I was in it. I believed in us, and every night you looked me in the eye and lied. She didn't argue. She just nodded, like she'd been preparing for this moment. I felt lonely, she said after a while. I felt invisible. So you made me invisible, I said. You rewrote the story to make me the villain, so you wouldn't feel guilty for cheating. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. I laughed once, cold. That's not love. That's possession. Emma stepped forward. I regret it, all of it. I regret hurting you. I regret every stupid lie. But you don't regret choosing him. She flinched. I was weak. You were selfish. Silence. Then I pointed toward the door. You need to go. She hesitated, but this time I didn't back down. As she walked out, I said the only thing I had left to give her. It wasn't just the affair, Emma. It was the way you made me feel like a stranger in my own life. She turned around, eyes rimmed red. I know, she said quietly, and I'm sorry. But I was already closing the door. That part of my life, it was over, and no apology was going to change that. The divorce papers were ready 2 weeks later. Claire went over everything with me. Finances, property division, legal protections. I'd spent days combing through every account, closing every loophole. Emma wouldn't be able to touch another cent of mine. I dropped the envelope off myself. Our house, the one we'd picked out together, painted room by room, filled with all the little routines that made up a life, was quiet when I pulled into the driveway. Her car was there. Lights were on in the kitchen. I didn't want to go inside, but I had to finish this. She opened the door before I could knock. Hi, she said, She looked smaller somehow, like the walls had caved in around her. The house didn't smell like candles or dinner. It smelled like nothing. "I won't stay long," I said. She nodded, stepping aside to let me in. Everything was exactly where I'd left it, the dish towel hanging crooked on the oven handle, the dent in the floor where I'd dropped a hammer during a half-finished shelf project, the mug she bought me last Christmas still sitting by the sink. I placed the envelope on the kitchen table. She stared at it like it might move. "I already signed," I said. "All that's left is yours." Emma didn't move to touch it. "Nolan," she began, but her voice cracked. I didn't want a speech. I didn't need another version of the story. "I'm not here for another explanation," I said, "and I'm not here to fight. I just need closure." She looked at me with wet eyes. "Are you really walking away from this?" I nodded. "I already did." She leaned on the counter like the weight of it was finally sinking in. "I don't know how to undo this." "You can't," I said simply. She looked like she wanted to argue. Instead, she picked up the envelope and held it to her chest, like it might keep her from unraveling. "You were a good husband," she whispered. I stood there for a second, letting that land. Then I picked up my keys. "I know." I turned to leave, taking one last glance at the life we'd built, and broke. She didn't follow me this time. Outside, the air was thick and warm, cicadas humming somewhere in the distance. I got in the car, started the engine, and didn't look back. As I pulled away from the curb, a strange sense of peace settled over me, like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally let it out. By nightfall, I was halfway to the coast. A bag packed, a hotel booked. Nothing planned beyond the drive. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.